Hello and welcome into the dimelo Cinema Club. Tonight we're going to be discussing the 1998 thriller Run Lola Run, directed by Tom Tykwer. Doesn't look like it's spelled that way or said that way, but it is. It is technically called a thriller, but I feel like it has a lot of genres. So let's jump right into it with our panel of guests. We have JP, Steve Dez, and Dino and Jason. So let's jump into some initial thoughts, guys. So this original movie for me, 1998, I saw it in like 1998, 1999. And so this is only the second time I've seen it. So I'm going to kick it off to you guys, kind of hear what you think, but it is a very long time in between seeing it for me. Let's go into Jason. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, I have seen this film before. I really liked it the first time. It's one of those films that kept popping up on my radar years ago when I was like on my film binge experiment, one of my film binge experiments. And it just kind of kept popping it up. And the girl with the red hair, it's like one of those things where it's like, I got to see why she's running. And so it just sort of floated around, and finally I found it, or it came to me, or I rented it. I don't know, but I got a hold of it, and I remember really liking it the first time. And it was something different and new and original, and it was very independent feeling. It was foreign. I really, really liked it the first time. So upon the second viewing, this afternoon, I watched it, and I will say I wasn't as impressed with it this time around. Not that it's any less good than it used to be, but I'm not impressed with it because of the movies that have come in the last 24 years or so. As I was watching it, I kept thinking this is like Lola in the Multiverse of Madness. Other films have, jocked this movie and stole all types of stuff from it. There's been parody movies. I don't know if you guys know that. There was a film that David Cross did called Run Ronnie Run. That was a weird movie. If you guys ever want to check that bad boy out,
David Cross with hair.
Kind of, yeah. It was kind of a response to Run Lola Run and Joe Dirt. I felt like. But this movie, it does still hold up, and I did still like it. It is very. I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack is cooler than I remember. I think maybe because I'm more into techno music than I was in when I originally saw this. Maybe like in something, maybe 05, 06 is maybe when I seen this. I think. Yeah, I dig this film. I think there's some things to talk about here. There is a big question that I have watching it this time that maybe I didn't even have the first time, but I'm sure we're going to explore that. And I'll save that question, actually. Or, I'm just going to put it out there so you guys can start messing with it in your minds. That question is what the heck is happening? What's happening? Is she going back in time? What's happening? Okay, that's it. That's my first impression, my initial thought.
All right, who wants to go next? Go ahead, JP. Go ahead.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I'll jump. I'll just do it. Actually, this is the first time I saw it. I thought maybe I had seen parts of this before, whatever, but apparently not. The music's definitely like anxiety driven for me. Just like boom, 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 kind of like that whole techno discotheque German vibe. But I enjoyed it, and I guess for me, kind of like Jason said, he had already seen it, and it wasn't as impressive this time because everything else that has come since then. But for me, I was impressed because I see it now, seeing everything else, that I'm like, oh, that's where they probably got that from, right? So I almost saw it, I guess, in reverse. It's almost like he saw it the first time, and then was like, no. And then I got to see it now. And so I enjoyed it. If you watch the movie, maybe you know what I'm saying, or maybe I'm making no sense whatsoever. Kind of like the movie. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I told Jason you can save a lot of money making your film if you just reuse the same shots. So that's a positive. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the look of the film, the angles they were using, all that kind of like it was very cool looking. And I think that doesn't matter if you're seeing it now or if you saw it when it came back out, when it came out for the first time in the 90s. That's it.
Go for it, JP. What do you think?
I thought it was cool that it opened up with Disney presents a Tim Burton film.
Or Men in Black, right? Isn't that what the lettering kind of was?
It's a strange opening for the movie, since it does open with what looks like very like early 2000s flash animation and whatnot, and the animation's used actually throughout the film, so it's consistent with that. But yeah, no, like with the amount of stuff that they managed to put into the film, I was kind of surprised at, because there was a few moments where I had to like remember back. Okay, how many times have we already done this? Because I was thinking about the rule of three, right? Like, okay, this movie cannot repeat itself more than 3 times, and I thought it was gonna end after the second time. And it's weird because I know like I probably said I've said it before where if something is not story wise linear or straight, for some reason my brain, I'm just dumb. I'm a dumb person where I just refuse to think or whatever. Like if I have to overthink something or if the movie is trying to make me intellectual, I'm not gonna fall for it. I'll just be stubborn with my ignorance and just stay put. But no, it was crazy that this movie definitely like had me thinking throughout and just trying to figure out like what is going on, and kind of like how the movie goes on with the whole, in a strange way, sort of a pick your own adventure type feel, or probably the end of Clue, where it's like, no, but this is what actually happened. Uh, being along for that ride. I actually agree. I don't really think this movie is a thriller. There's moments of suspense, but I think thriller is just the wrong like genre category that for some reason this film has been put into. I don't know what to call it. It's definitely abstract, but I don't think thriller is the right one. But yeah, no, this was a really fun experience. Once Kayla shows up, they'll tell you what their experience was like, because in as of late, whenever we do decide to watch a film, I'm kind of the DD, so I don't get to enjoy it with any extra influence. So as a sober watcher, it was wild, but I can only imagine how open and expanded they were during this watch. But yeah, good movie. I'm willing to rate it already. I give it, yeah, B plus. It's a B plus movie.
Steve?
Alrighty. So first time watching this movie, just like Jason mentioned, I did in fact enjoy the soundtrack of this film a lot. Like I was like pumped up, and like JP was saying, it's not necessarily a thriller. I would think it's kind of like in a way, like a motivational movie to get you to go run and work out. Because I just saw myself pumped. I was like legit. I want to like go out for a run right now, even though it's dark. But I legit like I'm. This is not a joke. I'm legit gonna go running tomorrow because of this movie. Like legit. I was just like,
throw the Run Lola Run soundtrack in your ear.
I don't know about that. I'm probably gonna listen to A Tribe Called Quest or something like that. But like,
Are you gonna dye your hair red?
no.
I just kept on running.
Are you gonna
That's not
look
committed.
both ways of the street when you're crossing
Oh,
it?
I'm definitely gonna look both ways, and I'm probably not gonna run in the street. I'll probably do it in a track, or I'll probably do it in the beach, because you know
Okay.
I'm fancy like that. But anyway, I can see now. Like first, my bias again. Not seeing. I don't watch trailers. I don't read plot lines. Nothing. my bias, okay, German movie, German language is gonna have to do something about Nazis. There was never none of that. That's just me here thinking. So typically when someone else picks the movie, for some reason, I just get in like, okay, I'm gonna watch the movie and do something else at the same time. But because you need to like read the subtitles, I couldn't do that. So I had to like pay attention to the actual movie. And I was still very confused. Not just about what Jason wants to talk about, the different scenarios, spoiler alert, but also about like when she was passing certain people and they were like flash. I don't think they were flashbacks. I think they were like flash forwards.
Both.
Like, both? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that got a little confusing to me. When it got to the, I guess this is a little bit more getting ahead of myself, but when it got to the point that I don't know, when they were like flashing so many times, because there were many moments in the movie that I was like, okay, she's like the daughter of like this banker guy, even though in the first scene, kind of like, I don't know, debunks that, whatever. I was just like, girl, like, why don't you just leave this guy and just like, I don't know, get a better life together? Like, you could do something much better for you. But then again, this movie, in a way, to me, like one of the core messages of the story is like love makes you do stupid things. I don't know. That's what I think. That's what I got from watching this movie. That is like, it's there's a lot of that, like a lot of that stuff, especially with the main people. But yeah, overall, I think first impressions, great music. Definitely got pumped to go work out and run a little bit. And interesting story. Interesting way of doing this. Also, like Dino was saying, to also save a little bit on the budget. Because I could see why certain things were a little repetitive. And it's more of that like budget friendliness. Because again, this is the 90s and this is a German movie.
All right, I'm going to bring it back with some, because now you're really talking about it. To me, the rules are interesting because they're not always the same. So she can bump into one person and you see their whole thing, and then bump into a different person, nothing happens. And then also she can bump into a person in one scene and you see something, and then the second time they change, like what happens to them changes. But then other people, she bumps into them more than once and nothing happens the second time. So I felt like, we're riding on that. It was an hour and 20 minutes long. It was a short movie. But dude, this is the craziest thing to me. So at the end, obviously, you look at like trivia and things like that. Dude, average shot length in the movie is 2.7 seconds. There are 1,581 transitions in 71 minutes of actual film.
Oh my God, that's poor editor.
Yeah, right? Like, how long could that have taken? So for me, that was a big part. And then the anxiety for me. So the music is the main character. Lola is singing. And that guy, the director, wrote all the music.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So he just found scenes where he was like, we should add music in. These were things I read today. Dude, to me, it was like, have you guys seen Trainspotting?
Yeah.
Had some Trainspotting vibes. And also had, this is going to age me, but Hackers vibes.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was like still like in that early MTV time. So for me, those two movies definitely were like around that time. But then I definitely later on at some point want to talk about movies that got influenced by it or like did something similar, because it is interesting to start thinking about how different the movies that run on that same concept are.
I was also thinking a little Memento.
Right, sure. And that Tom Cruise movie where he's in the futuristic military and he keeps dying and has to replay and try and live through a scenario. What is it called?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, so that to me, like
Blunt?
so many movies I started thinking of that I was 100% Memento.
They also
all right, so
gave, Requiem for a Dream vibes.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, as a couple and trying to do stuff. Yeah.
Also, like, people's lives, when all their lives kind of went bad, drugs seemed to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
I thought this movie was going in a completely other direction because you can stop me or
No, go for it. Go for it.
okay. I was thinking I was gonna be that plot line of like, oh, there you go, gotta love the fucking person who sucks because he gets into drugs or decides to take a job that's too big for him, and so I thought in my mind because they're showing the flashbacks and he's like, you weren't there, and she's like, my moped. So I thought it was all going to be connected in the sense that the person that stole her moped actually was working with the mob guy because they wanted them to then stumble and probably not have the money, and then they would have to owe this mob guy, kind of in the Snatch or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrel thing, where like you fucked up, but we purposely made you fuck up, and now you owe us. So I thought it was going down that line, and then I just made a whole 180.
It's so funny you say Snatch because that's how I thought the beginning of the movie was when you were talking about the shots where it was like the faces of the characters and like I don't know if you noticed they had like their name in the movie but then their real name too. That kind of reminded me of like a Guy Ritchie beginning. All right, so should we jump into like favorite characters? It's hard because you start thinking like who are the characters that were in the movie?
The dog, which version, right? Right. I mean, there's a couple different versions. There's the police guard, no, the security guard. He seemed like kind of fun. There's also the characters. I don't know if the characters that you wish you would have seen more, and maybe this is why Snatch. The guys that kept crashing their cars on the one Mr. whatever his name was, and then they come out and they're all like beefed up guys. I was like, I would love to like follow their story for a hot minute, right? I don't. So that's so many of these characters we just see snippets and we see different versions of them that I'm like, ooh, I would like to see more of that character. Like the blind lady also, like where is their mysticism or magic, right? I don't know. I'm getting way off the favorite.
Go for it.
No, because I had theories too. Because I almost thought that for some reason I was in the mindset that are all the females in this world for some reason got this power or whatever. Because it almost feels like the other lady in the bank who is not having the affair kind of has the same vibe thing going on as the blind lady is like. I think they both know more than they're letting on in the movie, but it's never explored in the film at all.
The blind lady is the actual kid's mom in real life. The kid that Manny that touches her, takes the phone card from her. That's his actual mom. Yeah.
Oh wow,
that's funny.
That's cool.
The trivia for this was cool. I read like 10, 15 lines. And I was like, oh, that's funny. That's so.
Is she actually blind?
I don't think so, but I don't know. That would change it up. Yeah, it is. So that's a funny question when we talk about character because it is like you don't really get invested too hard into anybody, even Lola. Like I don't know if I was like super invested. Like if she would have died at the end, I'd have been like, okay, that's how this ended.
I mean,
like,
when she did she die in the first one? No, the first one is the guy.
No, first one's her.
First one's her. So when she died, I did not even see the time of the movie, but I'm like, the movie's done. Like, where is this gonna go? Lola's dead. That's it. I literally thought for a second she was like, because it went to the flashback and then back to like her face. I literally thought she was gonna like grab a second wind for some reason and like grab that bag from the air or something, like a superhero type of moment. But then it went on that whole flashback thing. But there were just a couple things in this movie that were really confusing to me. Like, for example, the flash forward stuff. Like, were they just doing that to do it? Or was there like a reason behind that?
I see this kind of like Schrodinger's cat, right? Like all these possibilities are out there, you know? Like it's almost like the butterfly effect type of situation, or it's like the lady with a baby. Like from what I gathered, she stole the baby from someone, and like goes into this whole thing. But then in another one, she wins the lottery also, and like change like there's all these different versions of people of your life that can, you know, depending what you decide to, which way you decide to run, you know, your life can turn a different way.
It's interesting though, because like with that one, for instance, the bump isn't really that different. So like the idea is that because she bumped her from the left or the right side, her whole life changed. You know, social services came and picked up her kid, so then she had to steal a baby. She hit her from the right side, and so like now she decides to buy a lottery ticket, and her family's very rich. It just didn't feel like, and I could be wrong, but I didn't see it. Just feel like the intention wasn't really super clear what they were going for in that moment. I guess I get the idea. It needed to be spelled out a little bit more for me, I think, because I'm guessing now. And you know what else it kind of feels like? And this is sort of to answer my own question that I prefaced in the beginning. It feels like a video game. Like Lola dies, so like here's another life, here's another chance to get it right. Manny dies, so let's try it again. Let's do it until we win the game.
The Rick and Morty episode.
Yeah, they just keep
the safe spot.
It's like a video game. You just keep playing until you win, and then the ending of the movie is the win.
Sorry.
Which makes sense for a movie that's this manic and fast and moves, you know.
And your superpower is screaming and breaking shit.
Yeah, she has this superpower. Like, it makes everything surreal, her superpower, right? Because it's like, well, is this real or not? Is this happening? What is this? You know?
Yeah. What bugged me, because like I thought the same thing too, that was very much like a video game, was like how far back is her safe spot? Because I'm sure the movie could have been easily resolved if she just saved it to the point where it's like, okay, I'll actually walk to my meetup spot, or I'll try harder not to get my moped
It was
stolen.
98, man. There were no safe spots yet, I don't think.
You needed the passcode.
Or maybe safe spots were brand new, like Resident Evil had just come out. So
you needed the memory card, the little 8 MB megabits. Well, okay, video game wise, what's the purpose of her running out and it goes zoom into the TV that has a cartoon? Is that just like, I have this really cool shot that I want to do down this like staircase building. Oh, we don't have the rights. We can't do it. I guess we can do a little cartoon of it. Oh, I want to have a dog in it. It's like, oh, poor Fido got run over by an ambulance car. I guess we could do it in the cartoon version. Oh, and let's have an ambulance run over people because that happened to my dog. Like, that's my big thing. Was like, what does this cartoon have to do with anything?
Or maybe Lola says, like, I'll run, but I ain't going down no fucking stairs.
I would twist an ankle.
You ain't got a Kubrick me, motherfucker.
My favorite character in the movie is the woman with the dad, because she said some shit like, do you want to have a baby with me? And he's like, yes. And then she's like, even if it's not yours. Did you catch that? She said that.
One of the times. I was
like, that was the most interesting difference in the stories, I thought, because it's like, because Lola gets there a few seconds later, the second time, more information is revealed, which changes the whole story. To me, that level of butterfly effect, I thought was the best usage of it.
Huh. And it even adds that extra layer too, because at the first try, he tells Lola like, "You weren't my kid."
Yeah,
and then like for that lady to bring us like you ain't yours.
I guess he's just shooting blanks because no one's having his kid.
twice that happened to him.
Yeah,
Huh?
it's probably the security guards, kid. If we're being honest.
Maybe he had a vasectomy. You never know.
Right. Film wise, I think the security guard was, in my opinion, my more favorite character. But I think narrative wise, like just me as a moviegoer, or like not moviegoer, but just enjoying the film. I think it was the bum, because I was telling Caleb the entire time, I was like, if that guy gets fucked for whatever reason, I'm gonna get pissed off.
Now,
The bum is like red with cotton, bale of cotton, right?
Like exactly.
Here's one thing about the bum that it didn't make sense to me at all. Maybe you guys
was it his fake beard? Because that was so fake. Go ahead.
I don't care about the fake beard. It's way spoiler alert, is way at the end. But it's when he goes like, when he gives the money back and he goes like, but what about me? And then he gets a gun.
He asks for the gun.
Yeah, but like, in what world does that make sense? That he's like, oh, I'm just gonna give you a gun.
Well, what does
like we all saw the Maltese Falcon? Don't give him the gun.
You don't know that man's journey. Like,
I thought they were
going to
gonna
get a bunch of flashbacks of the homeless guy, so he might have needed that gun real bad.
I thought it was gonna come in towards the end where now the homeless guy is robbing the supermarket. I was waiting for one more, like, you know, pulling the rug from underneath us, which it didn't.
I was thinking, I guess I've been watching too much Chappelle Show lately. I was thinking he was gonna grab the gun and shoot him and take the money and run. Like,
yeah, that or no, I was just thinking he was gonna interfere, kind of like Snatch and all of those. Like, he comes back and kind of fucks everything up at the end again. Kind of like you can't get away from the bum, no matter which direction you take. The bum is there, right?
I kind of thought the movie was gonna end kind of like that as well, where the bum would have ended up killing Manny again, you know, and then the movie would just end with this like helpless cycle of like it'll never end. Like no matter what Lola does,
right,
one of them's going to die.
Because then the other thing is like he was like, oh, he punched me or headbutted me because I stole a pack of cigarettes. It's like the bum bought some food. He spent at least 70 marks on that bicycle. So it's not a cool 100,000 marks. There's some money missing, right? Like, unless the boss just took the bag and didn't count it there. But yeah, I don't know. That was my big thing. Like, wait a second. They seem like good old chums now, even though the hobo spent some money. I think got a suit and everything, right? Am I wrong?
yeah.
Seemed like he was dressed nicer.
Yeah, he did. Got a really nice blue suit.
And that whole montage at the end where the bad guy comes to get the money, like the villain comes to get the money, and then he's walking away from the car, and the director's like, I can do a full minute on this, and it will have tension the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to go with this. Every time they were in the street, I thought somebody was getting hit by a car. Every single time.
And
whole movie.
They showed it already once, and I'm like,
yeah.
What are you doing?
Anytime they zoomed in on someone's face, I was like, they're getting killed. Like, something's going to happen to them, like a truck, you know, especially because they were doing shit like the window.
The longest window ever, maybe?
The ambulance, yeah. Like, how do you not have a crew standing in front blocking traffic at that? There's no cops there? Like, what the?
Germany in the 90s, man.
Man, it must have been a place.
Once they tore down the wall, they're like, get the fuck out of here with extra security and personnel. Like, nope.
Yeah, there were some weird scenes with that, too. Like the scene where she jumps in at the end and the guy's in there having a heart attack.
Yeah. And she holds his hand, and it was like...
That was the guy, right? Was that the guy from the car?
Wait.
Who was the guy?
I thought it was the mayor at first, but I don't think it was.
I was wondering who it was, but...
I was confused, yeah.
I don't think it was anybody. Who do you think it was?
I thought it was the Mr. Meyer guy. Wait a minute. So you guys know that the guy that was in the car that she jumps on the hood of is the husband of the woman who he's about to have, the dad is about to have a baby with.
Did you get that? That's the dad of the baby.
See, there's so much going on, but I agree with Dino that they did not spend any time really making, like, they did not have a board where they were like, and this is how we'll wrap this up. and this is what we'll do here. Like I never felt like that. It was kind of like, I mean, it wasn't like Lost, where at the end you're like, wait, what? You know, everything we're just never going to find anything out. But it definitely had. I agree with you, man. I feel like, you know, he didn't follow rules. Like he didn't set a world in which there were rules, and we understood what was, you know, there was a way to kind of pick up on exactly what was going on.
And I don't think it's necessarily rules. It's just like it needed just a tiny bit more character establishment.
Yeah,
because I didn't know that. Like I was just like, how does she know this guy?
Which, yeah, well, because, yeah, the only time we get it is when she actually lands on the hood and they have that interaction. And then Mr. Meyer goes and basically picks up her dad and is like,
she tries to stop them.
Yeah, I saw your daughter. And that's about it before they get into
and then they get into a car accident. Remember, they hit the other car?
Yeah.
You guys remember that? The two cars run into each other, and then it was like right after they do that, next scene is the ambulance scene, I believe.
Right. But I guess I didn't recognize him as a guy driving the car. But clearly the three beefy dudes got to crash into Mr. Meyer's car.
Yeah. And I almost thought that the three dudes were the bad guys in the beginning of the movie, but I just remembered them wrong. It wasn't until the end it was like, oh wait, those are completely.
I thought that was linked too, to be honest.
Yeah.
This is super random. What's with the soccer ball and like the kicking of that? Was that anything that just like we got a bunch of people in the quad?
That's cool.
Well, I think
that was?
Hi, Michaela.
Hi. No, I think a lot of like those random things, it just shows how like easily a timeline is like made differentiated. You know, like that's like the whole idea behind like movies like this. It's just like even the smallest thing can change anything, and I think they do that with a lot of the surrounding stuff. Especially like if you pay attention, there's always like something going on that wasn't going on before.
All right, I think that's it, right? Steve, you're just gonna re-loop this over and over.
Let's do it the second time. Ready? Wait, I need a phone. I hated it. This movie sucked. No, definitely weird. Michaela, for you, initial impression. Just give us a minute of what you thought.
I thought this was a really cool movie. Like considered like how like it's oddly simplistic, but like it's something that like you would have heard like your friend in college have, and then you'd be really jealous when it turned out to be as good as it was. No, like I think this is a really cool film, and I'm really glad that like this was brought to my attention. Like I'm so mad that I've never heard anything about it except through like maybe a Simpsons episode.
Wait, you said that it's overly simplistic because that's exactly what I tell my writer friends when I'm trying to be polite and tell them that they're lazy.
Is that how you thought about it?
No, I'm just fucking.
No, it's just like that's like I find that really interesting because like it's just like it's such an easy, simple concept, or at least the way that they framed it, so that they could add like this really complex thing. And it's just the fact that it came out when it did, and they were playing with these themes, kind of is just like it's fun to know that we always think about time in these kind of ways.
Oh, and you also said that it reminded you like a music video, which was funny because the guys said that it reminded them much like 90s MTV.
No, like that, like yeah, no, like it felt like a really long EDM music video.
Michaela, you said that it feels like the type of film that a friend of yours in college would have, and then you would be jealous that the film was good. Could you say that again, or what did you mean?
Yeah, sorry. Like that's like a really weird analogy.
No, let me see if I got it. It's like friends in college are just talking up this like one movie, or look at this movie's amazing, blah blah blah. And you're like, it can't be that good, right? And then you see it, and it's like, holy shit, it's actually good. So
and then James Cameron decides to make a sequel and another one.
No, like that's exactly what it is. It's like something that like someone would try to describe to you, and like listening to it, you'd be like, it can't be that interesting. And then you like watch it and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, the film was pretty groundbreaking for when it came out in 1998. The production budget was 1.75 million, and
No
internationally it grossed 22.9 million. So it was
Good
very
for
much a
them.
success.
Good for
Very
them.
nice.
Definitely hit the mark. Multiple marks.
100,000 marks.
So,
Mhm.
does anybody know what 100,000 marks was in 1998?
I was wondering that throughout the whole movie. Go ahead.
Wait, so
No.
I didn't look it up yet.
Oh,
is German money really called marks?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were. They went to the euro.
Euro.
Okay.
Giro, I think some people pronounce it.
When did they change it from marks to euro?
2002 maybe?
It must be recent because I always assumed it was marks as well.
No,
Yeah.
I think it was in 02. Because the only country who didn't go to the euro is the UK.
Yeah.
Or England. Was it the whole UK didn't go into it? I can't remember. I don't know whether UK, England,
They got the
Great
pound.
Britain.
Instead.
But yeah, so I think 2002 is when they went to.
Kayla, do you have a favorite character?
I liked all the little vignette characters. You know, like I think I have a hard time like lumping just one, but just like how like they all managed to say the same character, but like you see so many different ways of interpreting that. You know, like could you imagine like getting that kind of job and like having to figure out that?
Yeah, I mean,
Like I think it's really like the old lady that she bumps into and the guy with the bike. Like I really enjoyed like those kinds of characters that you see throughout the film.
The guy, he's getting his ass kicked, and he goes to the hospital, and then he meets the love of his life. It's like his doctor. Dude, the only thing on those scenes where did anybody have to rewind? Because I did. I was like, that was too much. Wait, is that what I thought I saw? I rewound them every once in a while. I was like 10 seconds back. I watched this film with AirPods on because I was watching on an iPad. And dude, it is really intense. Yeah, dude, the gunshots, I literally jumped. I watched it in the dark in my garage, in the dark last night. I watched it kind of like Michaela watched it, according to JP. And so I was feeling good. I had my headphones on, and I literally jumped. I was in the garage yelling because it was crazy.
I watched it in my like little home theater thing, and the first gunshot, which is the one that is him robbing the.
I think that's what it was because that scared the shit out of me.
I jumped too. I got scared. I was like, that was the most realistic gunshot I've heard.
And I don't know if you know this, there was a shooting like a block away while the movie was going on. So I heard.
No, I didn't.
I heard
I'm not
that.
into that.
Yeah.
Like scary.
So it was like why did the other rounds sound so faded? And it was because it was a block away.
So
that's probably that's where those donuts.
Inflation adjusted, currency adjusted. The 100,000 marks would have been about $56,800. In 1998, inflation adjusted, we're talking about $100,000 today.
Which is enough for your gang leader to kill you over, you know. And he was selling drugs, right?
50,000 would be enough for your gang leader to kill you over.
I feel like
Well,
you have to be scared.
I'm just more upset that was worth twice as much back then.
Germany did adopt the euro in 2002, so it was right about Wednesday.
Yep, 24 years, things happen.
We didn't say. I don't know if we were going to talk about favorite scene. Dude, my favorite scene by far is when she comes out of the bank. You're making me think of that with the money.
Oh,
and
yeah.
She's sitting on the ground, and they don't realize they're like, "Ma'am, get out of the way." Dude, that was the best scene in the movie. Like, there were certain realizations.
Yeah.
She never, in really high pressure situations until the scream, loses her shit ever. She's so calm when things are happening, like rips the gun off the guy, puts him down on the ground, and is still like, hey, everything's okay, blah, blah, blah. I mean, her demeanor was like straight. And meanwhile, Manny's a freaking disaster the entire time. He blames her like 75 times in the movie, I feel like.
I
Every
know
2
that's
seconds.
I
You were
was
late.
kind of like,
Moped.
girl, you better than that. But they kept showing those scenes of them, the do you love me? And then like, well, if I died, would you like all of that kind of thing, which was really interesting of like where that, like clearly that shows like they're kind of like, uh, they're just like attached at the hip almost, right? It's
Yeah.
almost follows that timeline kind of story. Like no matter what, they're gonna be connected. At least that's kind of how I saw it, right?
I saw it as them being stupid. I'm just effing.
Well, especially that scene is the first thing that I thought, because of course you think about yourself. I was like, that's why I'm not in a relationship right now.
Dude, she seems so needy in that first scene, and then he seems super needy in the second one.
Yeah.
Like totally they switch roles.
And then I was like, you guys need to leave each other. Like just like
Well, the post-coitus conversations are always the most dangerous, right? Because you're the most vulnerable, and it's
And
gotta
honest.
be yeah.
I think
You're not trying to get anything right then. You're like,
I think she died the first time. I think she's like, well, I get a redo.
Yeah,
And if I'm going to get a redo, I got to know if this guy's worth it or not, because I just lost my life over this dude. Is he about that action? Is he going to do the same? Is he willing to get down in these trenches with me and get gully? Because if not, then I'm not running 20 minutes across town to save his ass again.
What has a kind of like, because that's what I felt like, just like kind of like, oh yeah, the movie's over, the story. She's like, fuck this. Fuck no. This is not how it happens. I feel like something recently maybe we watched in a similar, not everything everywhere all at once, but did we watch something else that's kind of in that vein that's just like I'm breaking reality and I get a redo?
It's not over. Yeah. To me, it's that Tom Cruise movie because he's like knows it's going to happen each time that thing explodes. I didn't love that movie.
Really? I really enjoyed that movie.
Edge of Tomorrow. I mean, it was comedic. Like I like that portion of it. Yeah, when you said everything all at once, I was like, dude, how was that movie less confusing? And they had like dildo nunchucks. Like that was crazy stuff in that movie. And like it was less confusing. To me, they probably wrote a ton of scenes and then tried to piece them together. And like looking at how crazy the editing was of how long the scenes were, you got to think this dude probably had tons of scenes that we didn't get to see in this movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they cut down a lot in this film.
And that's hard. That's dangerous. You know, you could lose it. Dude, would you watch a part 2? That's the big question. Like, what if they decided to continue on and things change completely? Like, I don't know.
Isn't that the David Cross movie?
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's what makes this concept so interesting too. Is just like it's done in like that's why I find this movie very interesting compared to a lot of other films that play with this concept of multiverse stuff because it's all in the nitty-gritty details. This is something that you could replay over and over and over and get such vastly different outcomes, you know? And like I think that's what kind of makes it like a very interesting film is because like you're always aware of that. And the fact that she's aware of it too, you know? Like it's something that you could like you could probably make 5 of these and have each of them end in a different way, and it still work.
I agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
I think
because that's kind of what this is.
Mm-hmm.
So I just read that the opening with the people spelling out the name, that it was 300 extras, and so they filmed every letter with the same 300 extras, and then the director spent months kind of like combining all. So that's where all your time and money goes, is you just doing all this like extra work for like a really cool thing, right? And it came out cool, but just the idea of like, oh shit, like running out of time. I almost felt like you said every shot is so short that it's basically kind of like in Cinema Paradiso, where there's all the little clips of film that they put together. I feel it's all the clips of films that weren't used, and he's like, I got I got like a foot of film that hasn't been used, I guess, and we're shooting. Okay. And we're shooting. Okay. And we're shooting. And that's how the different shots were made.
And I think you get some payoffs with that. Like the scene where she's talking through the window to him when he's robbing the store. It sounds like she's talking through a window. Sound editing in this movie was awesome to me. I really, really liked it. And then the scene where she screams and then walks into the other room and they just show all the people like, and it's like a pan through all the people that are shocked and exactly what it would be like in real life if that happened. Like, what is this? What, you know? So I think we should hit what Jason said before, right at the beginning. Jason, can you pose the question that you posed right when we started? Because I think that is the last place I think we should hit something. Do you remember what you said again?
The question was, what is this?
Right? So alternate universe, clearly, but like what is the function of it?
Like, yeah, what is the actual, conjunction function of this film? Is it a multiverse film? Is it a time travel film? Is it a redo film? Like, what exactly are we watching? Because it never really explains itself.
I think it has something to do with like her screaming, because like there's kind of like this weird implication that she has superpowers, just because like with the scene with her dad, and every time she screams, something glass breaks, and that's like why she timed the thing at the casino. So like I wonder if it's more about her being telepathic. And that's why she can see into like time and space and is able to get those redos.
And when she looks at the guy, when she looks at that guard, you're right. She does have that too, like that trance she puts that guard in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? Yeah.
Well, and like I think it's because like here's my fun little mental theory is that we actually don't ever see her leave. Like the three options are just are what happens in her head. Versus like anything that actually happens. So we haven't even seen the story. We've just seen three different options. Because she only has one shot at it. So like if she can get her options straight and know who to bump into and who not to,
Does she realize though that like she's already done this before and she's getting a redo?
Where I think she does. Where I think
scared.
What?
I think that's why the guard was scared that second time. It's because it did happen before.
No, you know why I think it does? Because in the supermarket, dude's like, Manny's like, the safety's on. And she's like, huh? It's like, how do I take it off? Mm-hmm. And then when she's in the office with a security guard's gun, it's like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. And she's like, actually, safety. Mm-hmm. So, but how much she's retaining, I don't know, but mechanics of certain things she does.
Yeah, it's like definitely selective because she keeps on getting hit by a fucking car.
It's my theory that this then is a video game that the director is playing.
Ooh.
I mean, is it like Groundhog Day where
right? I was going there next.
More than just the 3 times, like if she's gotten good at like the gun or whatever.
And one of them she learns to play piano.
Well, like. I mean, I think there might be something to that theory because there was that one weird part where you hear him say, like, where she's like saying that just this one time, let me have it. Because like that kind of implies that she's at least done this so many different times,
How many people are part of it? Like, how many people are? I agree. Like, I don't know. It's such a short movie.
Yeah.
For how much is there? There's a lot there.
I like how short it is. I think
me too.
For this,
me too.
Story.
I told Jason I paused it at like minute 30, and I was like, "Man, only 30 minutes. It feels like it's already been an hour, but at the same time, it also just feels like 5 minutes, even though it's been 30 minutes." It was. I don't know if Jason. I don't think he quite understood what I was saying, but I was like, maybe you guys felt the same thing, that it felt really long but really short at the same time. And all at once, maybe.
Yeah, no, like I think that's why this film is so interesting, is because they're playing with pacing in a way that I don't think a lot of directors are like brave enough to do, because like I think that's something that a lot of people don't consider when it comes to making movies. Like they just focus on the story so much. But like seeing someone actually be like, no, like what if I actually play with the actual rhythm of things? And that's kind of what makes this movie so smart.
It was almost like everything was everywhere all at once.
Hey.
Well, that's part of the thing with the people, with the how you can't really. I don't know. I didn't feel that bad as I would for another character when the dad went down that deep dark road with her and said all that terrible shit. She just has no affect most of the movie. Now she's crying, but not in the way someone would be sobbing if they were just told that, most likely, right? So for some reason, I was really hard to attach to characters for me in this movie. And I kind of like that. It made it more like, you know, it was really fast.
What did the guard tell her after he also heard that? Like, sometimes
you're having a bad day or something like that.
Have a bad day. You say no. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, I think it's just
You sing, say it,
just
song.
not your day.
I think it's funny though because he says that twice, but like I think the second time was much more in spite or like mean to like a bit stabbed a bit more, just because you know the outcome of the first situation didn't happen, so it didn't seem as dire, even though she almost shot him.
when she held him hostage, I was like, "Motherfucker, you slapped her." I got no.
Yeah, he did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because she's like, "Who's that slut?"
Yeah, it wasn't like what was the guy's name last week? It was just slapping everybody. Reverend, remember that guy who was just slapping little kids and slapping women?
Oh, yeah.
He was just slapping everybody.
Seek.
Yeah.
Or seek.
Did you guys
yeah.
notice that the scenes involving her father in the office seemed to be shot like on mini DV or something? It was like it was grainy. It wasn't film.
Yeah.
I think I did notice that. I think scenes that she was not a part of or she was not there for some reason they filmed it like that. Because they do that style again with the homeless guy talking to the guy who stole the bike.
But also that particular scene, I noticed that they're shooting literally. There's like windows that there's like so much light coming also from the other side. That's kind of difficult to.
And very handheld, shaky. That's what I was thinking. I was maybe
it was just a way to like cheapen the whole process. Like, hey man, let's shoot what we can to make these
indoors. A lot of that was indoors too, right?
We need more. We need to we need more scenes. I already returned the camera and film. Hey, my little brother has his DV camera. All right, we're doing it.
Well, if you're going to spend the big money, spend it on the action and the movement, right?
And there isn't that much dialogue when they're outside at all. So it's not like they got like their boom equipment like running down the street with her.
Yeah, it was more like,
Well, I thought that was like a way for them to differentiate like the stream of consciousnesses that are being played with. Like anything that's in that like vignette kind of way was someone else's perspective versus when it's very clear it's hers, which kind of also like feeds into like her power thing, or at least that's how I read it. And also those scenes tended to be very intimate too. Like I think they were also trying to capture kind of like warmth to these that like you don't feel with the other character with Lola.
The one part of a flash forward that I was like, okay, why they added that, but I guess was like when they showed like the one lady that was working in the bank with the teller, and they were like got together, and then they had like BDSM stuff together. I was like, is this going somewhere, or is it just showing?
He was excited. It was his favorite part. He was like, where are we going with this?
Because that's it. That's all we get.
Yeah, I think the last thing I was going to say is about the camera work when you guys were talking about that. Did you notice in the scene where she's like the dad is waiting while they're counting the money? They don't like put the dad in a chair and he's not standing. He's like sitting on a stool. So they're still like, it's almost like he's kind of still looking down. And like then there's blatant uses of camera where they like the very beginning of each of the montages is like coming out of her apartment and then wrapping around that chair to serve the TV with the cartoon on it. Every time they did that. And I liked it. I didn't mind it, but that was a little more blatant use. But I feel like they did like little stylistic things too to try and show like characters and like their roles.
Did you guys notice all the cameos in it? You had Bill Hader as the bank teller. and Stan Lee was in a couple scenes in the supermarket, and I think even in the casino.
Yeah, Bill Hader for sure. Though. Just
Sorry.
You said something along those lines, right?
Yeah, no, like I kept like trying to figure out how like this guy looked a little bit different than Bill Hader, because like I was just like I didn't know that Bill Hader came in like slightly angry.
You know, I said the same thing during Cotton Comes to Harlem, and you called me racist.
So real quick, does the mom, when she's talking on the phone, is she having like an affair with someone, or is she like reading cards or something like that?
The mom is the lady drinking at the beginning, where it wraps around her and goes into the TV.
Yeah. But she's talking about like, I know you're a Sagittarius rising, whatever, something.
Oh, that's right.
But I'm like, is she talking to someone she's having an affair with? Because at one point she says, "You're married, but you're married too," or something like that.
Oh, really? I didn't.
It sounds very tarot card-ish.
Yeah, like Dionne Warwick special.
That's why that was my only confusion too. That I was like, is she doing like a reading to someone, or is she having like an affair as well?
I feel so dumb. I did not know that was the mom until when you brought it up. I was like, that makes sense. Yeah, that is the mom. I thought it was a roommate or some shit.
Yeah, because she goes like, Lola, bring me some shampoo or whatever.
They're gonna go out. Were they in the same apartment, or was that two different apartments across from each other?
I think they were in the same apartment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which was a huge ass apartment.
Well,
yeah.
And they do imply that he's rich.
Yeah, but it still looked kind of like a shack.
It was the 90s. It was cool to look grungy.
Well, no, her room it looks like the shack, but then where the mom is and all that, like
nice,
it's nicer, you know.
There was like red in like the Lola scenes, and there was like a ton of yellow in the Manny scene. Like everything had colors. Like Lola's hair's red. There's the ambulance. Like all these things are red, and then like the yellow is him. He's got like the yellow shirt on. He has the yellow signs in the background everywhere he goes. I felt like that stuff jumped out pretty quick. I don't know if there was a different meaning than like, oh shit, everything's going to go crazy every time you see these colors, because that's what happened. Pretty much every time the colors were intense, it was like something crazy was going to happen.
I read a little bit that it was kind of like a lot of the color choices were on purpose, and it's like he was mainly yellow, she was mainly red, and it's all kind of like caution colors, right?
Okay.
The green, the
it
yellow.
Felt like the color thing was a thing right away to me, like pretty quickly.
Yeah. So most of the scenes with her were all red, and most of them with him were yellow. But then you have the green, kind of, you know, clearly green money in the dad's in the bank and all that. But other scenes also they have green as well. So.
Well, I feel like we totally answered Jason's question, which was what's the whole point of the movie. Should we jump into final thoughts?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's do it.
All right. Anybody want to go first?
Sure, I'll start us off. Final thought. For the second viewing of this movie, I really enjoyed it. It is something that I'll probably revisit in the future. Could be not too distant. Could be way down the line. Who knows? It's going to just happen the way that this movie happens. It's just going to happen. I did enjoy it. I have a different feeling and outlook than I did initially seeing this movie, probably some 16, 17 years ago, however long it's been now. I would recommend this to people. I would recommend this to anyone who I felt deserved it. No, I would recommend this to anyone who I felt needed to see something a little bit different, something that sort of feels kind of retro now. Something that something that's international, but also what I feel, and I could be wrong, but what I feel to be one of the earliest examples of a director playing with like time and space and that kind of thing. I don't want to say multiverses, but that's what it feels like. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I would recommend this to filmmakers. I would recommend this to people who want a thrilling action movie, because that's what this is. I would recommend this to people who like movies like Snatch. It's got that gangster element, and it's also thrilling because the clock is sort of counting down from the time you watch this movie. There might as well have been like a clock in the corner of the screen because it also feels like a video game. The red hair, it kind of all points to these like very things, these very adventurous sort of way that we've been programmed to play video games, like a side scroller almost. So those are my final thoughts of the film. I did appreciate it.
I'll go. I enjoyed it. Again, it was the first time. I'm guessing at some point I will revisit this film. I was thinking of Rashomon, Akira Kurosawa film, and how this is almost might be a little bit of a modern take of that, or so it was super interesting. It felt very video gamey. I was reading more about it makes it like, oh wow, but I don't know if you need to read. Like it's very interesting what I've read and what Chris has also talked about, what the director was thinking or whatever. And I almost feel like it might be better not to know those things, not to know what he was thinking, and just watch it and enjoy it for what you see and what you take out of it, which I guess is art. And it's more, a lot of artists are like, once it's out there for the world, it's not what I thought about it. It no longer belongs to me, right? So sometimes it's better not to know too much about the purpose of the filmmakers. So I enjoyed it. I'd recommend it to different people, and 90 minutes, man. It had a nice little soccer intro to it, which is perfect for the World Cup.
I'll go ahead. Final thoughts. This movie, just like Dino said, is a great movie to just go in blind. I didn't research anything. I didn't look for trailers or nothing. Not before, not afterwards. So it was really cool. Again, I do get where are those missing pieces or missing things that should have, like, I guess to our standards now, establish certain characters a little bit more or certain relationships a little bit more so it's clearer for the audience member. But again, I also got to give it up. It is a foreign film. It is, even though it had like a 1 point something million budget, it's from the 90s, and it's difficult to make a film. It's a little easier now because of technology and stuff, but back in the day, especially with a large group of people and coordinating explosions and all sorts of things, I get that it's tough. And I'm pretty sure there's one of those movies that has a bunch of scenes that did not make it somehow or got cut down, and maybe that explains certain things about it. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I would definitely recommend it to people that do like to venture into foreign films. I actually had a friend that was coming over that she speaks fluent German to come here, but something unfortunate happened, so she couldn't come next time. And I gotta say this before I forget. I really enjoyed the backwards credits. That's my final thought.
JP McKellen, let's go.
I really enjoyed this. Like, I'm really glad that this came on my radar. I think this is like when we talk about like important independent films, specifically like focus on the idea of indie. I think this is an excellent example. Like doing so much with like practically nothing. It's a really impressive bit of film work. So I would suggest this for anyone who is just getting started. Like I think this would be some great inspiration for someone like that. And it's just like a really cool film. It's something you can just pop on and like. I don't think anyone would like. I don't think it's a hard sell.
Okay. Ditto, but my final thought would have been much more like repetitious and word vomity.
And there would have been some badumts.
Exactly. And I'm still sticking to the B plus movie.
Mhm.
So for me, I knew I liked it. You know, I remember liking this movie, originally seeing it. I did not remember a lot of what was going on. I remember the running, clearly. I liked how Jason just brought up the clock idea. Did you guys ever see that Johnny Depp movie where the clock's there the entire time? He's got to do something in like 90 minutes.
The Great Mouse Detective.
Yeah, no, he's in a movie where he has to do something, and the bad guy's like, Harvey, you gotta tell one of those like action movies where there's a clock on screen, literally the entire movie, and it's like ticking down. And I was thinking the 20 minutes seems short, like, and so I didn't even put the connection in that there was going to be three 20s, and the number on the wheel was 20. So like this dude clearly likes 20, but I was wondering that the whole time, like, why didn't they just make it an hour instead of 20 minutes? That is a certain amount of time, because 20 minutes, like, to come up with a plan and execute it, that is so intense. Like, that is,
So another thing is, going back to soccer and what they say at the beginning, 90 minutes, right? That's a full-length soccer game. And apparently the first story is 20 minutes, and the last story after like the reset is 20 minutes, and she has 20 minutes to get to the supermarket. So I guess that's kind of how why she chooses to bet on 20 and stuff like that. It's just there's 20 in a lot of the things throughout the movie.
So for me, I really enjoyed the rewatch. I definitely would check out a movie like this again. I definitely recommend it to a lot of people in the sense of, it's definitely way different than a lot of things I had seen, at least at that time. So it's like an older version of things that I've seen more recently.
I definitely recommend it to especially the fans of Crank, the movie Crank. Maybe also Crank itself. I don't know, but definitely if you're a fan of movie Crank, you might enjoy this.
Because it goes a little hand in hand, I mean.
Or I was going to say, or if you're a big fan of fentanyl, it's might be your...
Oh my God.
There's a Requiem for a Dream, Joe. All right, so Jay, did you have a question?
Yeah, actually, Chris, I did have a question. I was wondering, Steve, what do you got for us next week?
Next week, I don't know why you asked me, because it's not my turn. It is JP's turn.
What?
Oh my God.
Oh no.
The next movie needs no introduction.
We're gonna watch Weird.
There you go.
I told you.
I told you.
I told you.
I told you the minute they announced Weird was coming out.
I told Dino 3 weeks ago that JP's next pick was going to be Weird.
I told you.
I mean, that would have been true on so many levels, man. But you meant specifically Weird.
I meant Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, that's the one I
I've not seen it yet. Have you guys all seen it?
Huh?
Have you all seen it?
I've only saw like the first 30 minutes of it.
I haven't.
Oh, Daniel Radcliffe.
I actually had it in the last couple of days. Had it like I was gonna watch it, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna save this because I think JP's gonna pick this.
I might as well just
think everyone was
watch the movie now, I guess. A short, quick 10-minute review. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna come with one of these, but
oh yeah,
I guess not. But for Michaela, JP, Jason Echoes, El Dondino, Chris, the Professor, and me, Steve Dassimi, will catch you next week. Bye-bye.